I never imagined it, but the woman I trusted most was plotting against me. What I uncovered shook me to the core. How could someone I loved betray me like this? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here, I share stories inspired by various topics from Reddit, focusing on family, friends, and the ups and downs of life. Today, we bring you a story where the main character faces a situation that might feel familiar to you. Have you ever experienced something like this, or perhaps felt a connection to it? Stay tuned until the end to find out how the character navigates through this challenge. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It keeps me motivated to bring you more amazing stories. Thanks for being here. Part 1. The Unexpected Revelation. My name is Jack, a 42-year-old cybersecurity expert. I live in Los Angeles, a city that thrives on hustle, tech startups, and ambition. I've spent over 15 years working in the tech industry, battling against hackers and protecting digital assets. But no amount of firewalls, encryption, or security protocols could protect me from the betrayal that was lurking right under my roof. It was a normal Thursday morning when I got an email that would change my life. I had just finished a late-night project for a client, and as I sipped my coffee, I noticed an unexpected notification on my phone. The subject line was blunt: "Let's be adults about this." The email came from my wife, Anna. At first, I thought it was some mistake. She's usually calm, always seeking peace in our relationship. But as I opened the email, my heart sank. Anna had filed for divorce. Not only that, she had transferred all of our joint savings into her private account. To make it worse, she had already moved in with another man, Tom, a guy I had never met. The betrayal stung like 1,000 needles, but what was even worse was how she phrased it. "I'm sorry, but I need something different. You've been so busy with your job that I no longer know who you are." I stared at the screen, reading those words over and over again. There were no words of affection, no closure, just cold logic. She was done, and she had made up her mind. I didn't even feel angry at that moment, just numb. A quick glance at the calendar showed that she'd made these moves while I was working on an international security project in the Philippines. I was overseas, working for weeks at a time, fighting cybercriminals, and meanwhile, my wife was preparing to tear apart everything we built. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I closed my laptop and took a long shower to clear my head. The cool water felt like a reset. I wasn't sure what to do next, but I knew I had to act. There would be no public confrontation, no emotional outbursts. I would deal with this like I did with any crisis, calmly, efficiently, and with precision. Part 2. The calm before the storm. The days after receiving Anna's email felt like a blur. Each hour stretched endlessly as I mulled over what I should do. I wasn't sure where to start. There were no clear instructions for dealing with this kind of emotional wreckage. Divorce papers in the inbox. A home ripped apart without a single face-to-face conversation. It was all too surreal. I hadn't realized how much I had neglected my personal life until the email arrived. My mind had been consumed by work, by the endless stream of cyber threats, the complex encryption puzzles, the hours spent hunched over multiple screens fighting off digital battles. I had buried myself in my job, trying to drown out the cracks that had formed in my marriage. Anna's distant behavior, which I'd brushed off as just a phase or something to do with her own stress, now felt like a glaring warning sign I had ignored. Over the past few months, Anna had become someone I didn't recognize. The woman I married wasn't the same. She used to be my partner, my teammate. Now she was a stranger who came home late, her face illuminated by the glow of her phone as she scrolled through texts and social media, always dodging my attempts to connect. She'd started working longer hours at the design firm where she worked as a project manager, and I had noticed the little changes. She didn't laugh at my jokes anymore. She didn't ask about my day. She wasn't interested. And the most alarming part? The secrets. Her phone, once open for casual glimpses, was now locked, tucked away when I entered the room. Her emails were off-limits, her computer password protected. I wasn't a fool. I knew something was off, but I didn't confront her. That wasn't my style. I believed in space, in trust, in letting things unfold in their own time. Maybe that was my mistake. I should have spoken up, but now it was too late. The email was the final confirmation. In the days following, I stayed quiet. I didn't react. I couldn't afford to make rash decisions. Instead, I turned inward. I spent nights in my apartment, pacing in the quiet of my minimalist space, surrounded by high-end tech gadgets and stacks of contracts. My apartment was sleek, almost sterile, designed for efficiency, nothing personal. The coldness of the space mirrored the coldness I felt inside. It was all I could do to focus, to think, to plan. My life had been flipped upside down, but I knew one thing. I had to prepare. I wasn't sure what exactly I was preparing for. Was it just the end of a marriage? Or was it something bigger? Something that would shake the very foundation of my life? I decided to take control where I could. First, I gathered all our important documents. I secured the deed to the condo, the car titles, and my personal savings. I knew it would come to this. I had anticipated this moment, somewhere deep down. I had even opened a separate bank account months before, just in case things went south. Anna had no idea. Every month, a portion of my income was diverted into that account, just enough to keep it under her radar. It was a quiet, unnoticed move, but it wasn't just for a rainy day. It was for a storm. Looking back, I realized that I wasn't just preparing for a divorce. I was preparing for a battle, a fight for my future, my finances, my sanity. And I had no intention of going down without a plan. I took a few hours off to visit an old friend, Ethan, a trusted attorney I had worked with in the past on business contracts. Ethan wasn't just a lawyer to me. He was a confidant, a guy who understood the intricate details of my work and life. He'd helped me navigate the legal labyrinth of contracts and tech partnerships before, and now I needed his help again. "I need you to go over everything," I said, pulling up documents on my phone as we sat at his office, the faint scent of coffee lingering in the air. "My financials, the condo deed, even my military pension. I don't want her walking away with what isn't hers." Ethan nodded, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Jack, this is more than just a divorce. You're talking about fraud. She's been siphoning off funds. And from what I'm seeing here, she's already made moves behind your back. We need to act fast." His words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Fraud. It hadn't even occurred to me that Anna might have been involved in something so malicious. The idea was too overwhelming, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. The financial transfers, the way she'd been so secretive about our accounts, the sudden willingness to leave without a conversation. It all pointed to something more. "I'm not going to let her get away with this," I said firmly, my jaw tightening. "I'll do whatever it takes." Ethan gave me a reassuring smile, though his eyes were filled with concern. "We'll get to the bottom of this, Jack. I've got your back." But as the days went on, I realized that the battle wasn't just going to be fought in the courtroom. I had to be smarter. I had to use every advantage I had. And the most significant one was my skill set as a cybersecurity expert. Anna didn't realize that I had upgraded our home security system years ago, after a break-in in the building next door. At the time, I thought it would be a smart move to protect our personal space, but little did I know that this decision would become crucial. I had set up remote access to the system, an idea I came up with after seeing the value of monitoring our surroundings while I was away. Now, as I sat in the living room, the soft hum of my computer screen illuminating the room, I knew I could use this system to my advantage. I had access to the cameras, to the sensors on doors and windows, to the security logs that tracked who entered and exited the house. It wasn't much, but it was enough. I could still monitor everything happening inside our home, even when I was halfway across the world. I took a deep breath and logged into the security system. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of control. Anna might have thought she had taken everything from me. My trust, my marriage, my security, but I wasn't ready to lose it all just yet. I scrolled through the live feeds, watching the familiar faces of the neighbors walking their dogs, the passing cars, the occasional delivery driver. Then I saw it, a shadow in the corner of the frame. I clicked on it. It was Anna. She was standing in the kitchen, laughing at something on her phone. A man I didn't recognize stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder. It was Tom, the man she'd been seeing behind my back. My stomach tightened, but I didn't feel the surge of anger I expected. Instead, I felt something colder, something clearer. I had the evidence I needed, and now I knew exactly what I had to do. Hey, are you finding the story interesting so far? If you are, make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can continue the adventure together. The best part is just ahead. Part 3. Uncovering the Scheme. 2 weeks after the initial blow, I thought I was slowly coming to terms with the mess my life had become. But the universe had other plans. The weight of the betrayal still hung heavy, but I had started to focus on the practical steps. Securing my finances, meeting with my lawyer, preparing myself for the inevitable fallout. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but I had hoped that things would settle, that I could get through it. That hope was shattered the moment I received the second notification. It came through late one evening, just as I was finishing up a report for work. The email dinged on my phone, the subject line a simple notification from my bank. I wasn't expecting anything urgent, just the usual updates about account balances, routine transactions. But when I opened the email, my heart sank. The joint account we had been using for years was nearly emptied. The balance read $100. Just $100. That was all that remained of what had been our shared life, our savings, our future. I didn't even need to check the details to know what had happened. But I did anyway. I opened the transaction history, my eyes scanning the endless list of transfers. Sure enough, Anna had been systematically draining the account. At first, the amounts were small, $100 here, $200 there. Enough to not raise suspicion, but with a pattern that was impossible to ignore. I scrolled down further. Then came the larger withdrawals, thousands at a time, and they began the moment I left for my trip. She knew I would be gone. She had planned this. I had been out of sight, out of mind, and she took full advantage of that. But the financial theft was just the beginning. I felt my chest tighten as I dug deeper into the details of the transactions. As I was scanning the account activity, I remembered the feeling of being overwhelmed and ignored by Anna. It all came rushing back. The long nights, the suspicious behavior, the moments when I felt something was off but couldn't put my finger on it. I had trusted her with everything, and she had repaid me with lies and manipulation. I quickly moved on to the next step. I checked the loan and mortgage records. What I found made my blood run cold. Anna had taken out a loan against the condo. Our condo, the one we had bought together, the one that held so many memories. She had forged my signature to refinance it, draining yet another portion of what should have been our shared wealth. But it didn't stop there. My stomach churned as I read the details. She had tried to sell the condo without informing me, without my consent, with the same forged documents. I pulled up the scanned copies of the documents, the fake signatures, the forged ID copies, all neatly tucked away and hidden in plain sight. She had covered her tracks well. Too well. The woman I had once trusted with everything had betrayed me for money, for security, for a future that didn't include me. My hands were shaking as I stared at the screen, but I knew one thing. This wasn't just a simple divorce. This was far beyond that. She hadn't just left me emotionally. She was systematically dismantling my life, and I had to stop it before it was too late. I called Ethan. He answered after a few rings, his voice calm but with an edge of urgency. "Jack, I've been going over the details you sent me. This isn't just a simple divorce," he said, his voice low and serious. "This is fraud. She's committed financial crimes. You need to stop this before she gets away with it." I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen, the weight of his words sinking in. Ethan was right. This wasn't just about a failed marriage anymore. This was an attack on my livelihood, on my future. Anna wasn't just leaving me. She was trying to destroy me financially, to erase everything I had worked for. The trust, the years we'd spent together, none of it mattered to her now. I wasn't just losing a wife. I was losing everything I had built. My mind raced as I thought about the next steps. What did I do now? I wasn't prepared for this level of betrayal. But I couldn't afford to sit idly by and let Anna ruin me. I had to act. "All right," I said, my voice firm now, the adrenaline starting to kick in. "What do we need to do next?" Ethan took a moment before responding, the weight of the situation evident in his pause. "We need to gather evidence, Jack. And we need to act quickly. I'll start by digging into her records, but you need to make sure you secure your assets. Get everything in order. And if I were you, I'd start tracking down everything she's been hiding." I felt a surge of determination. This was my life, my future, and I wasn't going to let Anna take it from me without a fight. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time since I had read that email, I felt a sense of clarity. I was no longer in the dark. I knew exactly what I was dealing with. I was going to win this. I hung up with Ethan and leaned back in my chair, the reality of the situation settling in. I wasn't just fighting for a divorce settlement or for the condo. I was fighting to protect my future, to protect everything I had worked so hard to build. I spent the rest of the evening gathering what I could: bank statements, property documents, anything that might give me leverage. I was meticulous. I knew I had to cover my bases. It wasn't just about what Anna had done to me. It was about preventing her from doing it to anyone else. I started to think about the bigger picture, the other people she might have hurt. If she was capable of doing this to me, how many others had she done it to? The next day, I called the bank and requested a full audit of the joint account. I wanted to know exactly where the money had gone, every dollar Anna had moved. I was going to find out everything. If she thought she could pull this off without consequence, she was sorely mistaken. As I worked through the details, the anger started to build, but it wasn't the kind of anger that clouded my judgment. No, this was controlled, focused. I was fighting for something bigger than just myself. This wasn't just about money. This was about justice. I wasn't going to let Anna get away with it. Not this time. Part 4. The Reckoning. The courtroom was filled with tension, the air thick with a sense of expectation. The battle had been long, longer than I had ever anticipated. But here we were, about to bring it all to a head. After months of gathering evidence, working with Ethan, and preparing for the inevitable confrontation, I felt ready. Ready to take back what was mine and, more importantly, to make sure Anna didn't get away with it. Ethan had been instrumental in helping me through the process. His expertise in the legal world had given me hope in what felt like an otherwise hopeless situation. But now, the truth was on the verge of being revealed in full. I had spent too much time questioning my own judgment, too many sleepless nights wondering if I was missing something. But now, it all made sense. Anna wasn't just someone who had betrayed me. She was part of something much bigger. As the hearing began, I sat there, the weight of the past year heavy on my shoulders. Ethan sat beside me, confident and steady, as the defense team prepared to make their move. They had tried everything, from challenging the authenticity of my claims to accusing me of exaggerating my losses. But today, the tide was about to turn. The judge entered, and the room went quiet. A firm voice echoed through the room as the proceedings started, and it felt as if the world had narrowed to this moment. I could feel my pulse racing as Anna was called to the stand. She looked different. Her eyes were hard, defensive. She wasn't the same woman I had once shared my life with. Her once warm demeanor had been replaced by a cold, calculating glare. For a moment, I wondered what had happened to the person I thought I knew. But then I quickly reminded myself, this wasn't about her. This was about me getting justice. As Anna took the stand, I couldn't help but notice how her demeanor shifted. There was no apology in her voice, no remorse for what she had done. In fact, her response was chillingly dismissive. She tried to explain away her actions, making excuses about personal stress and life changes. But those words fell flat in the courtroom, and I could tell the judge was not buying it. She couldn't talk her way out of this one. The full extent of her betrayal came to light as the evidence was presented. We had documents, proof of forged signatures, fraudulent loans, and secret bank accounts, all leading back to her. But there was more, much more. Anna had been part of a network of criminals, a large-scale operation that involved selling properties, laundering money, and stealing from unsuspecting spouses, military families, business owners, and even retired veterans. I wasn't the only one she had hurt. The realization hit me like a truck. Anna wasn't just a cheating wife. She had been running a criminal enterprise right under my nose. The betrayal went beyond personal heartbreak. This was a scheme that ruined lives, destroyed trust, and shattered families. As the evidence was laid out, I could see Anna's defense crumble. She had tried to cover her tracks, but the truth was like a floodgate. The more we uncovered, the worse it became. It was no longer just about money or the condo. It was about accountability and taking responsibility for the damage she had caused to so many people. When the judge finally spoke, his words were stern and final. Anna was ordered to pay restitution for all the stolen assets. She was to return everything she had unlawfully taken, including the condo and any claim to my military pension. The weight of the decision felt like a 1,000-pound weight lifting off my shoulders. But it didn't stop there. Her new partner, Ben, was also implicated in the operation. His criminal record came to light, and the court revealed that he had been using stolen property to fund shady real estate dealings. Together, they had been manipulating the system for their own benefit, and now they would be held accountable. The FBI had been involved for months, digging deeper into the scheme. They were able to track down multiple victims, families like mine, unsuspecting spouses, and vulnerable individuals who had no idea they were being scammed. They recovered millions of dollars in stolen funds. For me, it wasn't about the money, it was about justice. It was about knowing that Anna's actions and the damage she had caused were finally being exposed. As the case was wrapped up and the gavel came down, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Not just for the financial restitution, but for the truth. Anna had stolen from me. She had lied and betrayed me in every possible way. But she had been caught, and that was what mattered. The victory wasn't just mine. It was for all those who had fallen victim to her lies. A year passed after the chaos of the trial, and things had started to settle. I made the decision to sell the condo. I couldn't bear to live there any longer. The memories of deceit, the echoes of Anna's betrayal, lingered in every corner of that place. It had once been our home, but now it felt like a prison. I needed a fresh start. I found a small cabin in the mountains, far away from the city and the shadows of my past. It was a simple place, nothing fancy, but it was mine. The stillness of the mountains brought me peace. I was no longer surrounded by the noise of the city or the echoes of betrayal. I spent my days working on cybersecurity projects, the things I loved, helping others avoid the traps I had fallen into. The cabin became my sanctuary, the place where I could breathe freely again, where I could rebuild my life from the ground up. It wasn't easy. There were days when I missed the life I had before, the life with Anna, the life that I thought was real. But in the solitude of the mountains, I found something more valuable than I could have imagined: peace. As I worked on my projects, I knew I was helping others stay safe from the same kinds of scams I had fallen victim to. It gave me a sense of purpose, a reason to move forward. The past was still there, lingering in the back of my mind, but it no longer had a hold on me. I had regained control of my life, and that was all that mattered. Conclusion: this wasn't just a story of betrayal. It was a story of resilience and redemption. Sometimes, life throws the most unexpected challenges your way. The key is to stay calm, stay focused, and use your strengths to come out on top. And while the scars of betrayal never fully heal, time teaches you to move forward. In the end, justice was served, not just for me, but for many others who had been victims of Anna and her partners. This story is a reminder that no matter how much someone tries to take from you, the truth has a way of coming out. What do you think about the story? I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections, whether it's about the twists, the characters, or how you'd handle a situation like Jack's. Leave a comment with your feelings or any feedback you might have. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss out on the next story that's coming your way. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen through the entire journey. It means a lot, and I'm excited to share more with you soon.